I saw her Instagram story last night. She was laughing at something off camera, somewhere I've never been. I'm 29 now, living in Portland, and I still check sometimes. Not every day anymore, but enough that I know what I'm doing when I open the app at 2 a.m. I work as a graphic designer for a marketing firm downtown. My apartment is small, one bedroom in the Pearl District, the kind of place where you can hear your neighbor's TV through the walls. I've lived here for 2 years. Before that, I was in Seattle. That's where it happened, where she happened, where I made the choice that I'm still living with. There's a flannel shirt in the back of my closet that isn't mine. It's been through 3 moves now. I've never worn it. I've never thrown it away either. Sometimes I see it when I'm looking for something else and I have to close the door and walk away for a minute. It still smells like her detergent, or maybe I just imagine it does. I don't know anymore. People ask sometimes if I'm seeing anyone. I say no, not right now, work's been busy. That's not really why. The truth is I go on dates. I've tried. But there's this moment that happens, usually around the 2nd or 3rd time, where they say something or laugh a certain way and I realize I'm looking for her in them. And that's not fair to anyone. It's been 4 years since I left Seattle. 4 years since I stood in her apartment and said I was taking the job in Austin, the one I ended up turning down 3 weeks later. 4 years since I walked out thinking I was protecting myself from something that hadn't even happened yet. I think about that a lot. How I left before she could leave me first. I first noticed her at a coffee shop on Capitol Hill. It was April, raining the way it always rained in Seattle, and I was working on my laptop by the window. She came in shaking water off her jacket, swearing quietly at her broken umbrella. She had this way of laughing at herself, at the whole situation, that made the barista smile. She ordered an oat milk latte, extra hot. I only remember because she came back the next week and ordered the same thing. And the week after that. She always sat at the same table if it was free, the one near the bookshelf in the corner. She'd pull out a laptop covered in stickers, half of them peeling at the edges, and put in headphones that were tangled no matter how carefully she seemed to coil them. Her name was Maya. I learned that from hearing the barista call it out. She was a few years younger than me, 25, working as a junior copywriter at an ad agency she complained about constantly, always on the phone in line telling someone it was fine, she'd make the edits. She dressed like she'd grabbed whatever was closest, jeans and old band t-shirts, sneakers that had seen better days. But she always had her nails done, dark colors mostly, burgundy or navy. I noticed that. She had this habit of biting the inside of her cheek when she was concentrating. And she was late to everything. She'd rush in apologizing to whoever she was meeting, her hair still wet from the shower, her coffee order while checking her phone. But when she finally sat down and looked at you, really looked at you, she gave you all of her attention. Like nothing else mattered right then. I wanted to know what that felt like, being the person she was rushing to meet. It started small, the way these things do. She asked if she could borrow my phone charger one afternoon when hers died. I said sure. She thanked me, plugged in, and we went back to our own screens. But the next week she remembered and brought me a coffee as a thank you. Black, 2 sugars. I hadn't told her how I took it, she just paid attention. After that, we started nodding at each other when we came in. Then it was saying hi. Then one day in late May, her laptop died mid-project and she asked if she could email herself a file from mine. She ended up sitting at my table for an hour, both of us working in silence. It was easy. Comfortable in a way I wasn't expecting. By June, we were timing our coffee shop visits on purpose. She'd text, "You there?" and I'd say yes, or I'd already be waiting. We'd work across from each other, occasionally showing each other something funny we'd found, sharing complaints about clients and deadlines. She told me about her roommate who never did dishes. I told her about my landlord who refused to fix the heat. Normal things. Small things. One night in July, We ended up getting drinks after the coffee shop closed. Then it became our Thursday thing. We'd meet at this dive bar in Fremont, sit in the back booth, and talk for hours. She'd lean forward when she was making a point, her elbows on the table, her eyes locked on mine. I started noticing how close we were sitting. How our knees would touch under the table and neither of us would move away. The first time she came to my apartment was in August. She'd had a terrible day at work, her boss had torn apart a campaign she'd spent weeks on, and she'd texted me asking if I wanted company. I said yes. She showed up with a six-pack and sat on my couch like she'd been there 100 times before. We watched something neither of us paid attention to. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder around midnight. I didn't move for 2 hours. I just sat there, feeling her breathe, trying to memorize what this felt like. After that, we stopped pretending it was casual. She'd come over 3-4 times a week. I'd go to hers. We'd cook together, badly, laughing when things burned. We'd stay up too late talking about nothing and everything. She told me about her parents' divorce when she was 12. I told her about my brother who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. Things we didn't tell other people. By September, I knew how she took her coffee, what side of the bed she preferred, the way she'd go quiet when she was upset instead of saying anything. I knew she hated making phone calls and that she'd rewatch the same 3 comfort shows when she was anxious. I knew the small scar on her wrist was from a bike accident when she was 9. The first time we kissed was late September, after a party in Ballard we'd both hated. We left early and walked back to her place, 20 blocks in the cold. She was talking about something, I don't even remember what, and then she just stopped mid-sentence and looked at me. We were standing under a streetlight outside her building. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. She kissed me first. Soft, hesitant, like she was asking a question. I kissed her back like I was answering it. We went upstairs. Things moved slow and then fast. Her hands shaking slightly as she pulled off my jacket. The way she looked at me in the doorway of her bedroom, checking, making sure. The quiet after, lying next to each other in the dark, her fingers tracing patterns on my arm. She didn't say anything. I didn't either. But something had shifted, settled into place. After that night, we fell into a rhythm. I'd wake up at her place and she'd already be awake, scrolling her phone. We'd get breakfast at the diner down the street. I started keeping a toothbrush there. She kept clothes at mine. It felt like something I'd been waiting for without knowing I was waiting. October blurred into November. We didn't talk about what we were, we just were. She'd text me from work saying she missed me. I'd meet her after bad days and we'd walk around the city until she felt better. We knew each other in that way you know someone when you're paying attention, when it matters. One night in early November, we were lying in my bed, her back against my chest, both of us half asleep. She laced her fingers through mine and said, "Quiet, I'm really glad I met you." I held on tighter. I didn't say it back, but I should have. That was the moment I realized I was in deeper than I'd planned to be. The job offer came in mid-November. Senior designer position in Austin, better pay, the kind of opportunity I'd been wanting for years. I didn't tell Maya right away. I saved the email as a draft and tried to forget about it. But she noticed something was off. She asked me twice that week if I was okay. I said I was tired. She didn't push, but I could see her watching me, trying to figure out what had changed. I started pulling back without meaning to. Small things at first. Taking longer to respond to texts. Saying I had work when she asked to come over. She'd reach for my hand while we were walking and I'd let go to check my phone. I saw her face when I did it, the quick flash of confusion before she looked away. The offer had a deadline. 3 weeks to decide. I kept thinking I'd bring it up, that I'd sit her down and just tell her. But every time I tried, I'd look at her and the words wouldn't come. Because saying it out loud meant admitting this had an end date. And I wasn't ready for that. By December, the distance was obvious. We'd gone from seeing each other almost every day to maybe twice a week. She stopped staying over. When we were together, there were these silences that didn't feel comfortable anymore. She'd ask what I was thinking and I'd say nothing. It was a lie every time. One night she came over and we ended up in bed, but it felt different. Desperate, almost. Like we were both trying to get back to something that was already gone. After, she lay next to me staring at the ceiling. I could tell she wanted to ask me something. I turned away and pretended to sleep. The next morning, she left early. She kissed me goodbye and it felt like she was testing something, waiting to see if I'd pull her back and explain. I didn't. I just watched her go. She started making plans without me. I'd see her Instagram stories, out with friends I'd never met, at places we used to go together. She was moving forward. I was standing still, holding this secret that was eating through everything we'd built. 2 weeks before Christmas, we were supposed to meet for dinner. She texted an hour before saying something came up at work. I knew it wasn't true. I said no problem and felt relieved I didn't have to see her, didn't have to keep pretending everything was fine. I had 1 week left to accept the job. The night before the deadline, she called. It was late, almost midnight. She asked if she could come over. Her voice sounded strange, careful. I almost said no. But I said yes. She showed up 20 minutes later. We sat on my couch, not touching, a space between us that hadn't been there 2 months ago. She looked at me for a long time before she spoke. Are you done with this? She asked. Simple. Direct. I should have said no. I should have told her about Austin, about the offer, about being terrified that this thing between us mattered too much. That if I stayed and it didn't work, I'd have given up everything for nothing. Instead, I said, I don't know. She nodded slowly. Like she'd expected it. Like she'd been waiting for me to confirm what she already knew. Okay, she said. She stood up. I stayed sitting. She looked at me one more time, and I could see she was giving me a chance to take it back, to say anything that would change what was happening. I didn't say anything. She left. The door closed quietly behind her. I sat there in the silence and knew I'd just made a choice without actually making one. I accepted the job the next morning. Typed out the email, hit send before I could change my mind. The response came back within an hour. Congratulations, start date January 15th, relocation assistance included. I stared at the screen and felt nothing. I should have called Maya. Should have texted, explained, something. But 3 days went by and I didn't. I told myself I was giving her space, that reaching out would just make things worse. Really, I was a coward. A week later, I ran into her at the coffee shop. Our coffee shop. She was in line, hadn't seen me yet. I could have left. Should have. But I walked up, said hi like it was normal. She turned, and for a second her face did this thing, like she was happy to see me. Then she remembered. I watched it happen, watched her expression close off. Hey, she said. We got our coffees. Stood there in that awkward space where you're supposed to say you should catch up sometime, both knowing you won't. She asked how I was. I said fine, busy. She said same. I should have told her then. Right there, in the middle of the coffee shop where this whole thing started. But I looked at her and thought about how I was leaving in 3 weeks, how telling her wouldn't change anything, how it would just be one more thing I'd taken from her. So I said, I should get going. She nodded. Yeah. Me too. She left first. I watched her walk out, that same broken umbrella from 8 months ago tucked under her arm. The door closed and I knew I'd never tell her. That she'd find out some other way, through a mutual acquaintance or social media or just by me disappearing. That was my decision. Not taking the job. Not leaving Seattle. Those things I could justify, could explain. The decision was letting her think I'd just stopped caring. That whatever we had meant so little I could walk away without a word. I chose to let her believe that rather than admit I cared so much it scared me into running. I left Seattle 2 weeks later. Didn't say goodbye. Changed my number. Deleted Instagram for a while. Made it clean, like I could erase it by erasing the evidence. 3 weeks after I got to Austin, I quit the job. Realized I didn't want it, had never wanted it. I just needed an excuse to leave before things got too real, before I couldn't anymore. I moved to Portland instead. Started over in a city where neither of us had ever been. But I kept the shirt. Kept checking her stories. Kept carrying it with me, this thing I'd broken on purpose because I was afraid of how much I needed it. I didn't hear from her for 2 months. I told myself that was good, that it meant she was moving on. I told myself a lot of things that winter. Then one night in March, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw she'd posted a photo. Her and some guy at a brewery I didn't recognize. His arm around her shoulders. She was smiling, the real kind, the one that reached her eyes. The caption just said, "Good people." I stared at that photo for 20 minutes. Zoomed in on his face like that would tell me something. Read through the comments. Her friend saying cute, saying finally, saying happy for you. I put my phone down. Picked it up again. Put it down. 3 weeks went by. I checked her profile every day, sometimes twice. She posted more photos. Dinner with friends. A hiking trip. Another one with him, this time at a concert. In that one, he was kissing her cheek and she was laughing. I wanted to feel angry. Wanted to feel anything sharp and clear. Instead, I just felt hollow. By April, they were official. Relationship status changed. Photos together every week. I watched it happen in real time, this life she was building that had nothing to do with me. I'd wake up, check her stories before I even got out of bed. Go to work. Check again at lunch. Come home and scroll through everything I'd already seen. My roommate asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. Started saying that a lot. Fine when coworkers asked about my weekend. Fine when my mom called. Fine, fine, fine. I went on a date in May. Nice woman, worked in HR, laughed at my jokes. Halfway through dinner, she said something about her coffee order and I thought of Maya. Excused myself to the bathroom and stood there staring at my phone, at Maya's Instagram, at evidence of a person who'd moved on like I never happened. I didn't go on another date after that. June came. I saw through a mutual friend's story that Maya had moved. New apartment, better neighborhood. The guy was there helping her unpack. I could see boxes in the background, her laughing at something off camera, that flannel shirt I'd kept folded in a drawer on someone else's floor. That's when it hit. Not all at once, but slow, like water rising. I'd left thinking I was protecting myself from getting hurt later. But later had come anyway, and I just made sure I'd be alone for it. I started drafting texts I never sent. I'm sorry. I think I made a mistake. I miss you. Deleted them all. What was I supposed to say? That I'd run because I was scared? That I'd ghosted her and moved cities and quit the job I'd used as an excuse? That I'd thrown away the best thing I'd had because I was too afraid to find out if it was real? By August, I stopped checking every day. Went down to a few times a week. Started trying to build a life that didn't revolve around watching her build hers. But some nights, late, when I couldn't sleep, I'd pull up her profile. Scroll back to the photos from when we were together, the few where we were both in frame. There was one from September, the month everything was good. We're at a park somewhere, golden hour light, her head on my shoulder. A friend had taken it. We looked happy. We were happy. I'd stare at that photo and try to remember what I'd been so afraid of. A year after I left, I saw she was engaged. Ring photo, him on one knee, her crying. The caption was simple. Yes. I closed the app. Sat on my couch in my Portland apartment, the one I'd moved to for no reason, in a city I'd chosen because it wasn't where she was. And I finally let myself admit what I'd known since that night in December when she asked if I was done. I'd loved her. I'd loved her and I'd left anyway. And now she was gone. I'm 33 now, still in Portland, still in the Pearl District. Different apartment, same neighborhood. I'm a creative director at a small agency, the kind of job I used to think would make me happy. Most days it's fine. Good, even. It's been 4 years since I left Seattle. 5 since I met her. She got married last spring. I didn't look at the photos, but I know it happened. A friend mentioned it in passing, the way you mentioned the weather. The flannel shirt is still in my closet. I moved it to a box last year, told myself I'd donate it. The box is still sitting on the top shelf, unopened. Sometimes I forget it's there for weeks at a time. Then I'll be looking for something else and see it and have to sit down for a minute. I don't check her Instagram anymore. Deleted the app 8 months ago, reinstalled it twice, deleted it again. It's easier this way. Not knowing. Letting her exist somewhere I can't see. But I still do this thing where I order oat milk lattes sometimes, extra hot, even though I don't like them. I drink them black, but I order hers. The barista never questions it. I sit there with this coffee I won't drink and I think about April 5 years ago, rain on the windows, her laughing at her broken umbrella. I've dated a little. Nothing serious. There was someone last fall who stayed over a few times, left a toothbrush. I put it in the drawer next to mine and felt sick. She could tell something was off. It ended quietly, the way these things do when you're only half there. My friends tell me I should try harder, put myself out there, download the apps. I do sometimes. Swipe for a while. Match with people. Let conversations die after a few messages. I'm not trying to find her in them anymore. I'm just going through motions because it feels like something I should be doing. Last week, I was walking through the Pearl and passed a woman on the street. Dark hair, same height, same walk. For a second, my heart stopped. I almost called out. Then she turned and it wasn't her, of course it wasn't, and I stood there feeling stupid and relieved and disappointed all at once. That happens sometimes. Less than it used to, but still. I'll see someone and think maybe. Then reality catches up. I wonder sometimes if she ever thinks about me. If she remembers the coffee shop, the dive bar in Fremont, the night we walked 20 blocks in the cold. If she kept anything, or if she was smarter than me and threw it all away. I wonder if she's happy. I think she probably is. I hope she is. I'm doing okay. That's what I tell people, and mostly it's true. I have a job I'm good at, friends I see regularly, a life that looks fine from the outside. I wake up, go to work, come home, sleep. The days pass. But sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I'll lie there and think about that moment in December. Her sitting on my couch asking if I was done. Me saying I don't know. The space between us that I'd created, that I'd kept making wider because I thought distance would keep me safe. I think about what would have happened if I'd just told her the truth. If I'd said I was scared, that it mattered too much, that I didn't know how to be that vulnerable with someone. If I'd asked her to help me figure it out instead of running. Maybe it would have ended anyway. Maybe we'd have tried and failed and hurt each other worse. Maybe the timing was always wrong. But at least I'd know. Instead, I'm here. And she's there. And the only thing I know for certain is that I made a choice I can't unmake. I still have her coffee order memorized.